guys, my name is Trinh and today I'm here to do my July wrap up for the month of July. I cannot believe I've read so many books. I read 17 books in July. In the first 2 weeks of July, I was in Vietnam and I was reading a few books here and there. But then when I came back to the States, I participated in 2 readathons, the Reading Rush and then the Ours Magical Readathon. Before I get into the video, I do want to address a few changes that I'm making in my wrap up videos. If you're familiar with my wrap up videos, I talk about movies and TV shows and music and books, but from here on out I'm just going to focus on the books that I'm reading for that certain month. So I'm no longer doing movies or TV show or music reviews and stuff like that because I'm not even good at reviewing movies. Like, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, but I'm not comfortable sitting here telling you that I like this movie and here's my rating, or I don't like this movie and here's my rating, because sometimes I just don't make sense whenever I talk about movies and such. So I feel like it's a fun thing to talk about, but I cannot sit here and give you a review on movies, TV show, music and stuff like that. For my wrap up videos, it's just gonna be about books. I hope you're fine with it because for this month I have 17 books to talk about. This video is gonna be really long, I just know it. The first book that I read in July is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. If you don't know, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is my favorite. When I reread this book in the beginning of July, I still had so much fun reading this book. I'm planning to do a book review and discussion for this book and I have no idea when that video will be uploaded, but hopefully in August. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be uploaded in August. For now, I'm just gonna say that I really enjoyed this book and I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. It's still my favorite book from the entire series, so I just think it's really good. Like, I had so much fun reading this book. The second, third, and fourth book that I read in July are Former Alchemist Volume 13, 14, and 15. For Volume 13 and 14, I gave them 4 out of 5 stars, but Volume 15, 5 out of 5 stars. If you're not familiar with the plot of the series, basically, it's about these 2 boys, Edward and Al, and they're trying to find the Philosopher's Stone. They stumble upon this secret, this big secret about the government, and basically in Volume 15, we see flashbacks of this war, this civil war that happened 7 years before this started. Was it 7 years ago? Yeah, it was like pretty recent. We see some characters fighting in the war, like some of our favorite characters being involved in the war, and we just see this genocide happening to the Ishbalan people. We see people dying, we see innocent people being killed, and we see people from the government killing other people. It was spectacular in my opinion. It's very dark because we actually see characters dying. There's one particular scene that stood out to me. So like I said, it is a genocide and the whole goal is to just kill all of the people from the Ishbala, I believe that's like the country. We have this character, Roy Mustang. I love him so much. He works for the government, so he is a flame alchemist. Basically, he has firepower. And there's this scene where we finally get to see him killing someone, and it's the last person from the country. Basically, Roy Mustang asked him, "What's your final word?" The guy literally said, "I will never forgive you." And when I read that, I just started crying, and we know that he's going to die. It's just a really dark volume. Like, this manga series, the show, it's just really dark and I really enjoy reading this. I highly recommend the manga. It's been really fun reading the manga. I still recommend the show. The show is fantastic. It's on Netflix. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Watch that shit on Netflix, okay? It's fantastic. If you want to read the manga, I highly recommend the manga. If you do want to start your own collection, I recommend getting the 3-in-1 volume. So basically you get 3 volumes in one, and the overall value is like 15 bucks. So you pay like 5 bucks to read 1 volume. Still kind of a lot, but I like collecting my own books, so I don't mind getting these things. So highly recommend this series. It's so good, it's so dark, and I cannot wait to continue with the other books in the future. The 5th book that I read in July is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This book is popular everywhere on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads. It's everywhere, and I'm so glad that I read this book in July. The main character is Alex Claremont Diaz, and his mom is the president of the United States. He has this rivalry going on with the Prince of England, Prince Henry, and they have to be best friends, well, pretending to be best friends. And then next thing you know, they have feelings for each other and they have a secret affair. This book is very political, I mean, for obvious reason, because the main character is the son of the US president, and then he has a thing going on with the Prince of England, so of course there's some political stuff. This book is also very funny. I had so much fun reading this book. I was listening to the audiobook while reading the actual copy, and I remember just like laughing, and I remember crying a little bit too, because there's a few scenes that makes me cry. The representation is so freaking good. So the main character is Alex, and he is half white, half Mexican. We see him speaking Spanish. We see other Latinos in the book. We see them eating Spanish food, and it's just good, okay? The rap is so good. But then also Alex is bisexual and Prince Henry is gay. These boys are so soft. When we see them being together, it's just the cutest thing ever. I love their text messages. I love their emails. I love how they love each other. It's just so pure. The romance is really good in my opinion. I will say that in the beginning they're like enemies and stuff, but it didn't last very long, because once they get to know each other, they, you know, became like friends, and then they became lovers, so much more. A small complaint that I have is the fact that they use emails. Like Alex and Henry, you're not supposed to get caught, guys, and yet we see them emailing to each other, and I'm here like, are y'all shitting me right now? You should have known better not to use emails. Why don't you guys text each other? I mean, that could be bad too. And of course, when you read the emails, it's very obvious that they love each other. The thing is, they're not supposed to be together, you know, because they're both men. I was kind of annoyed with that, because the whole time I'm just like waiting for something bad to happen with the emails, and I was right. I feel like it's not spoilery, because like, come on, we have seen what emails can do when you're in like the government area, you know, like when you work for the government or when you have relations to the government, bad things happen, okay? But overall, this was fantastic. I had so much fun reading this book. It's like 400 pages. It's kind of long, but to me it's worth it. Oh my god, at the end, like that final chapter, it gives me so much hope. 5 out of 5 stars in my opinion. Oh my god, worth the hype. It's just really good. The next book is a reread. So this is the 6th book I'm talking about. I reread The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, but this is a little bit different because I listened to the audiobook for the first time. So even though it's my 3rd time rereading this book, it's my first time listening to the audiobook, because I've heard nothing but amazing things about the audiobook. It's actually really short. It's like 3.5 hours long, and the narrator is Elizabeth Acevedo, the author, and she is a fantastic performer. So this book is about Xiomara Batista. She's, I believe, a sophomore in high school, and she has trouble when it comes to her home life because her mom is very religious, very Catholic, and Xiomara does not believe in God anymore. Like, she started questioning the church, and in her heart and in her head, I guess, she has left the church, but her mom does not like that at all. I can definitely relate to that because I grew up in a Catholic household, and it sucks sometimes. I do want to talk about the audiobook because it's just really good. The author is fantastic. This book is good overall because I have read this book twice, you know, but just listening to the audiobooks, it's just like a different experience, and she's just a really good poet. Oh yeah, if you don't know, the author has like a background when it comes to poetry. I have talked about this book multiple times on my channel, so I'm not going to repeat my opinions because everyone knows I love this book very much. I give this book 5 out of 5 stars, of course. If you have not read this book, read this book, please. Do yourself a favor and read The Poet X. The 7th book that I read in July is Diary of My Eternity by Brandon L. So if you don't know, this is a poetry book written by one of my best friends, Brandon. So it's kind of weird talking about this book because I've never talked about a book that's written by a close friend of mine. I know him since the 4th grade. Basically, in this book, he talks about his ex-girlfriend, but then also his depression a little bit. Well, it's not weird, but it was just like a different experience reading this book because I have a feeling he's talking about this one person, and I know who she is because I have met her before. That's a little bit different. It's not bad or anything like that. I'm just telling you that it is a little bit different from the other poetry books I have read in the past, because you can get that shit at the bookstore and you don't really know who the author is. But here, I know the author. I know my friend. I know who he's talking about. And there are some poems that are really good. Like, there's some that really stood out to me, and I texted Brandon as I was, well, when I finished this book, I texted him like, hey, this is actually my favorite poem from you. A critique that I have when it comes to this book is that there's a few grammatical errors. I am an English major. I will notice those grammatical errors, especially the ones that are really obvious, because they tend to hinder my experience when it comes to reading books, you know. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna give this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. There are some really good things about this book, but like I said, there are some things that could be better. Like, grammatical errors and such. I feel like if Brandon fixed those grammatical errors, this book would have been really, really, really good. The next book that I want to talk about is Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Lost Adventures. Actually, there's like a lot of authors when it comes to this poetry book. This is not a poetry book, my dumbass. But there are a lot of people contributing to this book. So if you don't know, Avatar: The Last Airbender is an amazing TV show. It's my favorite TV show of all time. Basically, there's like a few scenes that didn't make into the OG show. So they put them in here. So The Lost Adventures, basically the scenes that didn't make into the final cut. Some stories are really funny, but a part of me is glad that it's not in the original show because they're actually kind of unnecessary. But at the same time, there are some scenes that are really good, and a part of me wish that they're actually in the show. It mostly happens towards the end, like when we have that character joining Team Avatar. At the end of the day, I'm gonna give this book 4 out of 5 stars. If you're a huge fan of the show, then read it. It's actually really fun. Do you need this in your collection? No. But if you're like me, then you might as well buy it and put it in your collection. So now it's going on my Avatar: The Last Airbender shrine right here. You can't see it, but I have a shrine for the show and the comic books and such. This is going back after this video. The next book that I want to talk about is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. So I read this book for the Alice Magical Readathon. This is an adult romance novel about a girl named Stella. She's a woman, I'm sorry. A woman named Stella. She's like a grown woman. I forgot how old she is, but she has her own job and stuff. So she's, you know, very successful, but when it comes to romance, she's not successful at all because she's not good at sex and she has Asperger, so she has like a hard time communicating with other people in general. She decides to hire a male escort named Michael. He helps her out. They get into this fake relationship. It's a romance novel. They get together, but then there's miscommunication and such. So let's start with the good things about this book. I like the rap when it comes to Stella. So like I said, Stella has Asperger, so I think the rap is really good because I know that the author has Asperger as well. I think that's just really amazing because I'm sure there are people who has Asperger, and once they read this book, they're like, oh my god, I can totally relate to that. The second thing that I really enjoy about this book is the Vietnamese culture. Michael, the love interest, he's Vietnamese. I believe he's half Swedish, half Vietnamese. We see his mom, his grandmother, and then his sisters, and they're all Vietnamese. It feels so fucking good to read a book where I can totally relate and understand whatever they're saying. Well, they don't speak Vietnamese, but from Stella's point of view, they were speaking in Vietnamese. And not just that, Michael calls his mom Mẹ, and he calls his grandmother Bà Ngoại. I do the exact same thing because I call my mom Mẹ, and then I call my mom's mom Bà Ngoại. That's how you do it, okay? And I just love seeing the Vietnamese food. I love seeing bánh bò. Oh my god, bánh bò is in this. If you have never had bánh bò, you're missing out. It's so fucking good, okay? And not just that, there's just so many Vietnamese culture, like the little things here and there. They're in this book and it's great. Like, I love seeing that so fucking much. Now, let's get to the part where I just didn't like this, okay? Let's start with the love interest, Michael. He's demanding, he's possessive. I don't like him at all. And in this book, there's a few times where he admits that he wants Stella to be jealous, even though they're not like a real couple because they were in this fake relationship, that kind of thing. But it was just really gross whenever he's like, yes, I want Stella to be jealous of this girl. And I'm here like, are you shitting me right now? Like, I did say that I don't like Michael at all, but I will admit that there are some really good qualities to him. So I like the fact that he's self-aware. I like the fact that he's trying his hardest to not be like his dad because his dad is a criminal. Throughout this book, we see him struggling when it comes to the decisions he's making because he does not want to be like his dad at all. So I like that. But when it comes to his relationship with Stella, I just don't like that at all because I don't like the fact that they're not like a real couple, and yet he acts like just an annoying ass boyfriend. And even if they are in a real relationship, I still don't like the fact that he acts like that. It's just really gross. It's very toxic. I'm not kidding when I say he's demanding and possessive. The ending was so unsatisfying in my opinion. Oh my god. It's an adult romance novel, so obviously they're gonna get together. But oh my god, there's like a huge misunderstanding between them, and I was just frustrated because we get to see from Stella's POV and then also Michael's POV, and obviously they both think different things about each other, I guess. This book was very disappointing. At the end of the day, I'm gonna give this book 2 out of 5 stars. I only like this book for the Vietnamese culture, but at the same time, it's not enough for me to recommend this book to someone else. I cannot just sit here and say, this is an adult romance novel and I think you should totally read it and stuff. No, I will say, like, yeah, I really appreciate the Vietnamese culture, but that's about it. I just don't like this book at all. The next book that I finished for the Alice Magical Readathon is Honeybee by Tristan Mateer. This poetry book is about her breakup with her ex-girlfriend, and we just basically read about how devastated she was when her ex-girlfriend broke up with her. And honestly, it's just very creative because yes, we get the poems, but then we get a few like what you call it, letters from Trista to the ex-girlfriend. We also get to see this, like this is like a plane ticket, I believe, when Trista decides to just, you know, fucking leave for a while. Let me like zoom you in. Oh my god, can you see it? Yeah, so we get to see this in the poetry book, so I think that's very creative. Also, Trista talks about bisexuality and biphobia and how her mother reacts to her daughter and her sexuality and such. It's a very sad poetry book, but I really enjoy it. I highly recommend this poetry book if you're interested. So I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. I have to do more research because I actually want to read a few more books from the author. The next book that I read is Bloom by Kevin Panetta and Savannah Ganusha, I believe. I read this graphic novel for the reading rush, so this was the first book that I finished during that week. The main character, Ari, his parents own a bakery and he doesn't want to work at the bakery anymore. He wants to move away and be in this band that his friends form. But then he meets a guy named Hector, and Hector begins working at the bakery, and you know, they form a friendship and then they become more. The art is so beautiful. Oh my god, I actually really enjoyed reading the graphic novel. Like, the art is fantastic in my opinion. I think it's just really creative how the colors are mostly white, black, and then teal. Like literally this entire thing is just in teal. My favorite character from this graphic novel is Hector. He is a baker. He's very good at it. I will say that he's too good for Ari. I don't like the main character Ari not that much, to be honest. He's the kind of person who has his issues, but then he starts putting his problems onto other people. But then also, I never rooted for Ari and Hector to be together. I could tell that they're gonna be together, but I never care for it. I was just enjoying their friendship a little bit, but I feel like if they weren't a couple, I would be fine with it. Like, I'm not gonna be upset about it. But then also, Ari's character development was too quick. The ending was really rushed in my opinion, so like we see him getting his shit together just a little bit, and then suddenly we have this big time jump, and then it's like December, and then the book ends. Overall, I'm gonna give this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this graphic novel, but it's not my favorite. I like the art, but at the same time, the story is okay. Seriously, the only character that I truly love is Hector. That's literally it. The next book that I read is The Sun and Her Flowers by Ruby Kaur. I read this book for the reading rush, so this was the second book that I finished for that readathon. A trigger warning for this book: this contains rape, so please be cautious when you read this book because there is a poem that's quite explicit. Basically, Ruby Kaur talks about how her ex-boyfriend raped her, so please be careful when you read this poetry book. There is a section that just dedicates to her parents and how her mom is, you know, an immigrant, her dad's an immigrant, and what it's like to be an immigrant. And I just love that section so much because it's something that I can definitely relate to. And I love that she admires her mom for her beauty, but then also for her strength. It's just really good. I will say there are some poems that are really short. There's a poem that's just one line, and I was so confused when I read it because the whole time I'm thinking, what does this contribute to the overall message? Oh my god, this one right here, page 221. It says, I long to be a lily pad. That's literally it. When I read that, I was so confused. This is so short. It's literally one line. What does this contribute to the poetry book, like the entire thing, you know? There are some really amazing pieces, but there's just like a few that's just too short, and I think it needs to be longer. The art is beautiful. If you don't know, Ruby Kaur does do her own art. You know, she doesn't do it for every single page, but there's a few pages where we see the art. So this one is an example. I really admire her art. I think it's really beautiful. I just love how it's just so simple because it's just a few lines here and there. It's not colorful at all. It just makes this poetry book better. I'm gonna give this book 4 out of 5 stars. It's just really amazing. Like I said, even though there's some that's just too short, there's some that's just really good. I highly recommend this book if you have not read this yet. So now I'm going to lie down a little bit. My throat kind of hurts right now, so I'm going to stop filming for today. And also my camera is about to die, so I need to like wrap this up. So I'm going to finish the rest of the wrap up in a few days. You will see me with different makeup, different hair, different outfit. Have fun with that. Hi, I'm back. it's been 4 days. I have 5 books left to talk about in this video. Let's get started before this video is like at least an hour. The next one I want to talk about is Water Runs Red by Jenna Claire. If you don't know, this is a poetry book self-published by Jenna Claire, and she is a YouTuber. She's also on Instagram, on Twitter. She's also a photographer. So in this poetry book, Jenna talks about her friendships with her ex-best friends. Like the first one, I believe they were childhood best friend, but then, you know, things didn't work out. And then the second one, things didn't work out as well. So I like the fact that it's not really about romantic relationships. It's really about friendships that you have when you were young. And of course, when you're a little bit older, things fall apart. I think Jenna does a really good job capturing what it's like to have a friendship break up. And for example, I believe one of the friendships didn't work out is because the girl ditched Jenna for her boyfriend. Jenna also talks about asexuality. So if you don't know, Jenna is asexual, and she has been very vocal about her sexuality and what it's like to be asexual on her YouTube channel. I think there's like 1 or 2 videos about that, so I watched them, and I really like the fact that she talks about it in this poetry book. The thing that's just very different from the other poetry books that I have read in the past is that every single page we have photographs, and it's marvelous. Oh my god. For example, this is just like some random page I opened to. So we have this. I just love every single page because you can tell that Jenna has put in so much work to make sure that every single page looks good. So overall, I'm gonna give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book, and I cannot wait to see what Jenna has in store for us. I forgot to mention that basically the rest of the books that I'm mentioning or like talking in this video is books that I have read for the reading rush. So I read Water Runs Red for the reading rush, and then this book, I read this, Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I read this for the reading rush and also for the Alice Magical Readathon. But then also I read this book with my boyfriend, so this is the first book that we read together. Trigger warnings for this book: death and suicide. So this book follows 2 main characters named Citra and Rowan. But first, let's talk about the world, because this is a dystopian. I see it as a dystopian, but basically in this world, everyone is immortal. So all of the bad things have been eliminated. So there's no death, like you cannot die of like a natural cause, and there's no disease, no hunger, no government. But at the same time, we have these people named Scythe. Their job is to clean people to control the population growth. So like I said, the 2 main characters, they're basically apprentices for this scythe named Scythe Faraday. Basically, this becomes a competition where one of them will become a scythe, and then the winner has to clean the loser. Let's talk about the characters. I think the characters are well written. Main and side characters are very good. Citra and Rowan, I like them both. I like Citra a little bit more, but I also like Rowan. I don't hate him at all. So I think Citra is just really smart. And Rowan, I think he has a huge character development in this book, and I really appreciate that. And then also I adore the side characters. Scythe Faraday is one of my favorite characters in this book, and I just really like him because even though he is a scythe, he has morals, and I just like the system that he has going on. And then I also like Scythe Curry. The antagonist is horrible. I mean, like, they are well written, yeah, but they suck. I hate them. I hate the villains. The one thing that I have heard multiple times about this series, or like the first book, is that the romance sucked. Before I read this book, I have heard over and over again that the romance between Citra and Rowan is horrible, okay? It sucks. When I finished this book, I have to agree with them. The romance is so unnecessary in my opinion. I felt no chemistry between Citra and Rowan when it comes to the romantic side. It feels forced. I feel like if Neil Shusterman take that out, then this book would have been really great, because I think this book is very good. It's just the romance is kind of weird. I don't like that at all. And then the world, I really appreciate the world building, because we learn about how all of the bad things are gone, and then we have Scythedom, I believe, and then we have the Thunderhead too. So I thought it was so interesting. The ending was average in my opinion. It was just like but I'm still very excited for the second book, Thunderhead. So I'm planning to read that book for the News Magical Readathon in August, obviously. So you will see me talk about that book, the second book of this trilogy, in my August wrap up. Overall, I think this is a really good first book. We get to see the characters, we get to see the world building, and learn, like, you know, what's going on in the Scythedom and how it works and everything. So I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was really good. I really enjoyed this book, and I cannot wait to continue this trilogy with the second book. book. The next book that I want to talk about is The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee and Michael Dante DiMartino. So I read this book with Rocky from Blunt with a Book, and it was just really nice to read this book with her because we are Avatar The Last Airbender trash. Avatar The Last Airbender is my favorite TV show of all time, and when I heard that they're going to do 2 novels about Kyoshi, I was so excited. So of course I pre-ordered this book on Amazon, and it came on the day that it came out, and I read it immediately, and I finished this book during the reading rush. So I read this book for the reading rush and the Alice Magical Readathon. Trigger warnings for this book: murder and killing. There are a few explicit scenes where the villain kills a bunch of people. That shit got me fucked up, to be honest, because this book is way darker than I thought. If you don't know, this is about Avatar Kyoshi, and if you have watched the show, then you know a little bit about her. You know that she is the oldest Avatar, and she has big feet, and she created the Kyoshi warriors, the Daily agents from Ba Sing Se. Yeah, if you know, then you know. So in this book we learn about Kyoshi. We see her as an orphan. If you don't know, she is an orphan. So we see her being like the servant of this avatar named Yun. I don't know how, to be honest. The people who are in charge of finding the next avatar, they got the wrong person. So they got this boy named Yun, and you know, Kyoshi happens to work for him. She is his like assistant, I think. So after this big trip, some people kind of find out that Kyoshi is the avatar, and of course the villain is after her. She ran away with her friend Ranji, who is a firebender. So they both ran away, and then they find this group of Dao Fei. They call it Dao Fei. So it's basically a gang, and then the villain is doing whatever he can to bring her back. Let's start with Kyoshi. So I really love learning about Kyoshi. So like I said, she is an orphan. I thought it was so fascinating because, you know, I didn't know that, and then we learn a little bit more about her parents. It's also nice to see her improvement when it comes to her bending, because in the very beginning she is not a good earthbender, but towards the end she's a decent bender. You know, she's the avatar, so she has to be good at bending all of the elements. Towards the end she's a little bit better, but I think she needs more practice because I really want to see her as a fully realized avatar. The villain, let's talk about this guy named Xianzu, I believe that's how you say his name. I really don't know. This villain is so good. He's so evil. In the beginning we didn't know he's evil, okay, because he was a friend of the past avatar, Avatar Kuruk. But then like I had some bad vibes from him, and then lo and behold, he's the bad guy, and I really appreciate him as the villain because he's cunning, he's ruthless. He will literally kill you if you're standing in his way. He won't show mercy, and I find that interesting because I don't know, I just really appreciate him as the villain. I hate him so much, but I love to hate him, so that shit was really fun. The romance is really sweet. So the love interest is actually a girl. Her name is Ranji. If you don't know, Kyoshi is bisexual. It is mentioned in one of the, what you call it, the comic books. It was in this one, I think. This one, Legend of Korra Turf Wars. Kyoshi is bisexual, and I like seeing her having this thing with a friend of hers, and I like the fact that they're girlfriends. The ending is rushed in my opinion. We had so much build up. The fact that they give you this ending pisses me off. This issue was resolved within 2 or 3 pages. I'm not fucking kidding. You're telling me that we have to witness so many people dying to get to that ending, to get to that fight, and it was over within 2 or 3 pages. You're telling me that? That's fucked up in my opinion, because this book is big already. Like, this book is like roughly 450 pages, and a part of me is like, you couldn't give me more? Like, how the hell are you gonna give us so much information and so much characters and so much depth to give me that ending? Seriously, make that chapter a little bit longer, or make that ending 2 or 3 chapters, not just like 2 pages, okay? Overall, I'm giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you're a big fan of this show, Avatar The Last Airbender, and you want to know more about Avatar Kyoshi, then definitely read this book. I think it's worth it. I think she's just a badass, so read this shit for Kyoshi. The next book is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jan Wang. I read this book for the reading rush. It was like a last minute book. If you watched the reading vlog, then you know I changed my TBR last minute. So I read this book, and I'm so glad I did, because I've heard so many good things about this graphic novel, and it was fantastic in my opinion. This book follows a prince named Sebastian. Yeah, that's his name. Sorry, I completely forgot, but his name is Sebastian. He's a prince of Belgium. Basically, he likes wearing dresses. So at night, he wears dresses and wigs, and he goes out as Lady Crystalia. In this book, he hires a dressmaker named Frances, and she knows about his secret, and also I believe his bodyguard knows about his secret. So it's just basically that. It's basically about a prince who likes to wear dresses, and it's so cute. I love this graphic novel. The characters are amazing. I love Sebastian. I love Frances. I think Frances is my favorite character because she is so talented and supportive because she makes dresses. She's good at it, but then she also supports Prince Sebastian and what he does. I think this book does an excellent job showing how one person can express themselves. So we have a prince who likes to wear dresses, and it's so good. I also love the illustrations. I think it's so freaking cute. It's colorful. The story is also really good. The characters are also really good. It's just a really good book altogether. So this is a graphic novel that I recommend to everyone. Overall, I'm gonna give this book 5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, please read this graphic novel if you have the chance. It's so freaking good. I genuinely love this so much. The last book in this July wrap-up is Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Bennett, Maureen Johnson, Kelly Link, and Robin Wasserman. So if you don't know, this is another book from the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and I read this book for the Owl's Magical Readathon, the Reading Rush, and then I read this book with Sandy from Sandy Reads a Lot because we are parapatai. So this book consists of 10 short stories, and they all follow Brother Zachariah. But it's not just about him. So I believe like the first 2 short stories is about Matthew and Anna. It's not just about him is what I'm saying. It's about the other characters in the Shadowhunter world as well. I feel like when it comes to this book, or like, sorry, when it comes to the short stories, there are some really good ones, but then there are some really like average ones. If you are a huge fan of the Shadowhunter Chronicles, then read the book, okay? What are you waiting for? Why are you thinking that you shouldn't read this book? You should. Why? Because Brother Zachariah is amazing. I am planning to do a different video for this book. I have a lot to say about each short story, so I'm planning to do a separate video for this, so I'm not going to talk much about this book here. I'm giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Basically, I rated each short story, and then at the end I found the average. That's how I rated this book. 4 out of 5 stars. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I am tired. I'm sweating. The battery is about to die. This video is gonna be so freaking long. I just know it. So I'm just gonna wrap it here. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.